Yeah, do you mind maybe just starting with an introduction?
Absolutely. Paula Valencia, I'm a commercial relationship manager here at Beginnings Credit Union. I started about 3 months ago. Prior to this, I was the SBA lending manager at a local community bank. And it was, also a dream role, but it was very operations focused. And I really wanted to be sales focused. I want to be the one helping members, customers, nonprofits, small businesses. So I shifted to a strictly sales role, and it has been the best 3 months.
I mean, an eventful 3 months to say the least, right? You've already won an award.
Yeah.
You're like meeting all these new people.
Yeah.
What's that transition
Yeah.
been like for you?
So the transition has been incredibly exciting. I have worked and met a lot of our members already in this community. Eventually, Tompkins County becomes a very small world when you're a lender or working in the lending space, whether it's residential lending, commercial lending, personal loans. You kind of get to know everybody in the area. I just get to work with everybody in a new light, and the reception from the community has just been the absolute best. Everybody I've talked to or introduced myself to in this new role is so excited for me and excited to work with me, which just reinforces the fact that I made the right decision in taking this small leap.
Okay, just in your introduction alone, I feel like there's so many avenues that we could talk about, but let's just start with the beginning. Like you mentioned, becoming a lender and helping people directly has been one of your dream jobs, but I don't know that many people who would when I was a kid, I wasn't being like, I want to be a commercial lender when I grow up. I wanted to be a scientist who did chemical reactions or gain superpowers or something, right? What was it for you? How did you get started in credit union work?
So I started in banking 10 years ago as a teller. I had studied photography. I thought I wanted to be an architect. I thought I wanted to be a designer. And as much as I love that creative outlet, I realized it wasn't what I wanted to do for my day-to-day job. I needed my creative outlet to truly be an area of freedom for me. So I wanted something with structure for my day-to-day life. I had tried a few different retail jobs. I tried working at Cornell in a lab, and I thought, maybe science is for me. And I've realized I'm really good at a lot of things. I'm good at whatever I dedicate my time to, but what is it that's going to drive me forward? So I asked around, and it seemed like everyone in the local community really enjoyed banking with Tompkins and with CFCU at the time. So I explored both companies, and I started as a teller at Tompkins Community Bank. I worked as a teller for maybe 6 months before I was senior teller, and then another 6 months before I was a universal banker opening accounts. And somewhere in that first year, actually 2 weeks into being a teller, there was an email from HR that said, "Hey, we have a professional development program. Would you like to apply? Who's interested? These are the requirements." I marched into the branch manager's office and said, "I need to do this. I need to do this for myself, for my career, for this random leap I decided to take into banking." And he said, "Why don't we try learning to be a teller first? Let's give it a year. If you still want to do this a year from now, then absolutely I will support you on this journey." And the professional development program was 1 week of every month. You would shadow a different department throughout the entire company. So you would learn cash management, lending, residential lending versus commercial lending, and then the differences in credit in both lending worlds. You would shadow HR, marketing, and there were so many areas where I knew I could succeed. Mm-hmm. However, as a lender, and specifically as a commercial lender, you get to support the businesses that make up your community. You get to support the nonprofits that are in your backyard, that are supporting your neighbors. And I realized after my very first rotation with the commercial lenders, that's where I wanted to be. I wanted to be the person driving our community's success. So after 2 years in that program and a very difficult capstone project while working full time and having a baby in the middle of that program, I graduated and realized, okay, as soon as a position opens up in that world, I'm going to go for it. And right before I graduated, the pandemic hit. There were a lot of staffing changes, and there was a position open in commercial as an admin. In fact, as the admin supervisor. The commercial team knew for the previous 2 years that I had been incredibly interested in working with them. So they called me. They called me first and said, we have a position open. It's the admin supervisor. We realize you know nothing about closing loans, the documentation required, the conversations we need to have. But if you're interested, we'd love to interview you. So even though it was a massive leap from opening deposit accounts, I jumped on it. And yeah, it was the best decision I ever made, because within 2 years of working as an admin in commercial, we decided we needed a full-time SBA program at Tompkins. And that turned into, okay, let's launch it. And I'm going to be the SBA lending manager. And we're going to take a program that's doing less than $1 million a year and turned it into $20 million a year in SBA loans, which was pretty fantastic. But somewhere in there, I put a calendar reminder that said, don't forget you want to be a commercial lender, because I knew being an admin was a detour from the traditional trajectory. I knew that, being the SBA lending manager was a detour from my traditional trajectory or my career plan, but they were valuable skills that I was going to need in the role that I wanted, where I got to work with small businesses directly. And on February 1st of 2026, that calendar reminder came up from 5 years earlier, and it said, don't forget you want to be a commercial lender. So, it made me pause and say, okay, where do I want to be this commercial lender? Do I want to stay where I am, or do I want to explore all these other financial institutions in the area and see which ones align the best with my personal philosophy, with my desire to grow this community? And that's where Beginnings Credit Union came in. Beginnings is very focused on supporting our local community, and the values at this organization and the values of a credit union just aligned better with my personal philosophy. So I talked to Mark, who is my current manager. I told him what I was looking for. He told me what he was looking for. And it absolutely seemed like the perfect fit, especially with my SBA background, with my commercial background, and where they wanted to take this program here. And that's incredible. How I ended up at a credit union.
What I'm hearing from you is, like, one, you're a woman of many talents and can handle so many different situations with competing priorities. But the other side of it is, you call it a detour, but I feel like your career trajectory would be very different if you just started with your dream role and then just going at it, trying to learn on the ropes, right? Like, there's something to be said about a kind of person who traverses different departments, learns finances from different angles, learns how it affects people to really give you the context to be successful for who you are. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. So a question that came up earlier this week is, one of my colleagues was looking for a board to join to give back to the community. His background is in real estate and rentals in the local market. And he was thinking he wanted a board that he could contribute that knowledge to. And I told him, think about it though. If you now join a board doing the exact thing you've always done, you will absolutely be able to contribute a ton from day one. But if you join a board that's completely out of your comfort zone, but you have like a personal passion behind their mission, you're going to diversify your experiences. You're going to open up your world and their world, because I don't know, let's say you look into something like United Way. They do a lot of different things. They support all the other nonprofits in our area, which then connects you to those nonprofits and their missions, their values, their people, and you gain from their experiences. But they also have something to benefit from you knowing the real estate market, which they may not know. And I guess I think of my career history as that same thing. They're stepping stones, and I don't want it to be linear. I want it to be a zigzag. I want to learn about everything. I just signed up for a carpentry class.
Incredible.
I don't know how to use a drill, and I'm a homeowner. So instead of paying somebody every time, I think I should learn how to like hang my own pictures on the wall.
You and me both, 100%. And we just got some power tools. I'm like, I don't know. There's something that happens when you put a hole in a wall and you're like, I've never done that before. But then you're like, there's no limit. The limit does not exist.
No, the limit does not exist. Yeah. It just seems like a good idea to maybe like watch a YouTube video first.
I feel you there.
Yeah. Podcasts and YouTube videos have been incredibly helpful. I went to an event from the local chamber where Mojo Motivation gave me a card. It actually sits on my desk, and it's motivation for people in any industry, really. It's just like motivating yourself to show up to work and to continue to show up to work even after you've worked 50, 60-hour weeks. But also I listened to SBA podcasts when I was trying to figure out like, how do I start an SBA program? And I've listened to lending podcasts where people talk about how to be on all the time, how to have your personality be on all the time when you have 5 events in one day, where you're doing the breakfast, the coffee hour, a lunch, an afternoon meeting, and then an after hours event. Like, how do you maintain your personality through all of that without losing yourself and without sounding fake when you get to the next meeting or repeating yourself over and over, right? So podcasts, YouTube videos, you can learn anything. You can teach yourself.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many, and I think this aligns with your learning philosophy too, right? Because there's so much knowledge out there from so many different people in unexpected spaces. And if you just took the time to listen, to be open to feedback, to be open to what other people are thinking, and diversify your resources, you can actually find a lot of information unexpectedly and grow in ways you might not have thought of before.
No, absolutely. Being open to listen, that is huge. Whether you're in a meeting or whether you're looking for content, being open to that message will change your life, because as people, we're so stubborn. You know, we think we have all the answers. We think we know what we want. And I've talked about this in mentorship conversations where I say, I know this is the career that you are asking me to help you like navigate through. But I want you to talk to some different people and just see what their world is like, because you collaborate with these departments, you collaborate with these organizations, right. And, understanding what their day-to-day is like will help you in your day-to-day. And their philosophies might actually change yours, and just be receptive to that. It doesn't mean you have to give up everything you're planning for yourself. It doesn't mean you have to give up on your goals. It just means being open to ideas that might actually help you modify the way your world works. And I just find that as a commercial lender, I get to tap into all of those worlds. I get to have a meeting with somebody that is a contractor and hear about their world. And then I get to have a meeting with somebody that's working on low-income housing. And then I get to go work with somebody that's working on food insecurity. And then I get to work with a retail store that sells board games, right? And that's how I make it through my weeks and my days, because I'm not working on one thing over and over and over again. I'm working on everything that I'm interested in. It's just about channeling your energy.
I mean, the way you approach it almost feels like the more you know yourself and the more you're secure with your philosophy and your values, the easier it is to be able to listen to other people and be open to change. You've touched on this idea of community a lot, and your philosophy about how you approach lending and why you like working with pillars in the community, right? Could you explain a little bit more, what does community mean to you? And tell me a little bit more about your philosophy with community.
To me, community is a support system, and you can be a part of 1,000 different communities. I have a group chat of mom friends where all of our kids are different ages. So I will post in that group chat of friends and say, like, I don't know what to do. My daughter's not sleeping. And they will give me different answers based on the stage of life that they are in. But community is also my network of lenders at all these different financial institutions, at wealth management firms, at commercial insurance agencies. They're also a community that I reach out to when I need a different kind of advice. And sometimes they overlap, which is fantastic. There's also a community of, women in commercial real estate that I have tapped into. And we talk about, what it's like to be a woman in a male dominated field. So community to me means support, me supporting them supporting me. But I also am Colombian and I grew up very strictly Catholic. And then my mom got a Fulbright scholarship to go study in the Netherlands. And the Catholic Church showed up for us in the most unbelievable way, where I was 4 years old, moving to a foreign country, and they provided us with an apartment just to get started while my mom started her master's degree. They provided us with furniture, bicycles. They taught us how to ride bikes because we really did not know much about the bike traffic laws of the Netherlands. But they also came with other families that had kids that were international that spoke Spanish. And then they helped me learn to speak Dutch. They helped me learn to speak English because the international community, the international university community is very multilingual, but a lot of it happens in English. So we were living in the Netherlands. I'm 4 or 5 years old, learning multiple languages at once, don't have any friends, and that community showed up for us. Mm-hmm. They provided housing and furniture and toys and a babysitter for me when my mom had to go to classes before school started. So that was my very first example of community, and I have continued to carry that forward in every community that I have found ever since.
That's incredible. So it's not even just like the support network that's around you that's so multifaceted, but also like you can't be quick to take and slow to give. It sounds like you are not just about building the community around you and seeing who's there to support, but also you're interested in making sure the blessings you've received are things that can be passed on to future generations, to people who are in need now.
Absolutely. Community is just as much about giving to your community as it is about finding the support from that community. And ask any one of my friends and they will tell you that I always show up with bonus friends and bonus guests to stuff. At 4th of July, I was given a 2 family bonus max because they know that I there's some people that move to the area that have young kids the same ages as our kids. And I said, I'm going to bring them. And they were like, okay, but you only get to bring one other family because that's like 10 guests already. But that's, who I am at my core. I'm a connector. I see a small business and a nonprofit that could collaborate, and I make that introduction. But I also see a new mom in the area with her husband that just started a job that's working a ton of hours and 2 little kids that don't have friends. And I say, we're bringing them to the barbecue. And yeah, to me, community is about finding what I have to give to others and sharing that knowledge, sharing the baby stuff that I don't need anymore, sharing what I know about my cultural differences to help somebody else understand what it's like to work with someone from a Latin background. Yeah, community is about sharing, learning to share, sharing more than you sometimes have to give because somebody's in need. Mm-hmm. But if I have something that you need, I'm going to give it to you.
Love it. I still have 2 more questions for you, but maybe this feels very obvious, but from a credit union lens, what are the things that you're doing to unlock new possibilities for people through financial education?
So financial education is huge. There is such a need for it. There are teens entering the workforce that don't quite understand what a deposit account is. What is a checking account? What is a savings account? Why do I have to put my money somewhere? Why can't I just get a check and cash it and then go spend that? But then there's also all of these fintechs that have popped up and, person-to-person payment platforms that everybody is raving about. So it starts at understanding, where does your money sit? And what is it doing for you in the institution holding that money? Do you trust the institution where you're putting your paycheck day after day? And then, what resources do I have at that institution to move my money, to use my money? And it can be as simple as a teenager learning to use PayPal and Venmo to pay their friends so that they can go to dinner together or go to the movies together. But it's also all the way on the other end of that, businesses being able to put their hard-earned money somewhere that they trust and having access to that money no matter where their business is operating, but then also giving them the resources to pay their employees, to pay vendors, and to have a debit card and a credit card that they can use to track business expenses separately from their personal expenses. And something that I absolutely love about Beginnings is that we have someone whose job it is to work on financial literacy full time. And I have brought up Aiden's name at pretty much every other meeting I've had since I started here for 3 months. And every nonprofit and every small business I've talked to has said, we absolutely want to take advantage of that for our employees and for our community.
Lovely. Yeah, I think that's incredible. And, it's not just about making sure these companies have money and can navigate their money, but also just making sure that they know what's out there. They know what their options are. You can't really do much if you don't know like what's even possible, right?
Exactly. And then on top of that, these small businesses need access to capital. They need access to a location to operate day in and day out. They need to be able to tell their employees, this is where you're going to come every day to do your job, whether it's office space or a warehouse. They want stability, and part of that stability sometimes comes with owning the building where they are operating, just like you get stability in your personal life from owning your home. Sometimes maybe you don't want to have to keep moving from apartment to apartment, and you're ready to sort of settle down and plant some roots. Same thing happens for small businesses. Sometimes they want to be able to stop leasing and stop being told, oh, now your retail storefront is going from here to here. Mm-hmm. Or, there's changes of ownership that can bring a little bit of chaos, or your monthly rent increases. Well, sometimes they're ready also to be able to modify the space for their exact business needs. And that's where I come in. And that's what's so exciting about my role, is that I get to help these businesses sometimes during a time of transition where they're ready for that next step. They're successful and they're ready to continue to grow. And sometimes they're just ready to open their doors permanently as opposed to operating online.
Love it. All right. My last question for you, which I almost feel like should have been one of the first questions, but here we are. I just feel like we had such a good conversation. You were recently honored as one of the Fab5. Can you tell me, how does it feel? Tell me about the glow of the award ceremony a little bit.
Honestly, it has been so humbling. I grew up being called bossy, and that was such a common thing I heard, and I moved around a lot. And the fact that this kept coming up in different countries and different communities, it made me internalize this decisiveness part of my personality until I started in banking, until I started learning from leaders. And I saw that the worst thing you could do is not make a decision. I sat on committees where nobody spoke up for months, and it felt like we were all wasting our time. And then I started saying, what if we do this? What if we start here? What if I plan the first part of this series, and then you guys can jump in and kind of carry it from there, and we'll learn from that experience. It's better to make a bad decision, learn from it, in my experience, and with limits. But sometimes it's better to make a bad decision than it is to not make a decision at all. Because if you don't make a decision at all, you're not going anywhere. And this award validated that mentality that I have adapted, where I've channeled that bossiness so that I'm listening to others, but I'm also decisive. I'm organized. I plan. Sure, sometimes I overthink, but that's why you need a group of people or a team to help you stop overthinking and keep you in check. Exactly. And this award has made me reflect on all of that, has made me reflect on the entire journey, on how I got to this role where my business card says commercial relationship manager. When did that happen? And also reflecting on the conscious decision I made that being bossy wasn't a bad thing, that being bossy was leadership. And I'm doing everything in my power to show my 5-year-old daughter that, because I basically cloned myself, she's not bossy, she's a leader. However, she needs to start by listening. And if she wants to make a decision, she has to do it respectfully.
Would you still describe yourself as bossy or a leader?
I think I describe myself as a leader now. I think I've heard it enough times over the last year that I finally feel confident saying that, as opposed to shying away and saying, oh my God, I'm so bossy. Or like, I need to calm down. It's just about being strategic with your bossiness.
Love it. Well, those are all the questions I have for today. Is there anything else that you wanted to let any listeners out there know?
Yeah, I would say join a board. You can learn so much from jumping on a local community board, whether it's for a nonprofit or a for-profit business that needs board leadership. You meet people on different tracks of life. You meet people of different ages with different backgrounds. And sometimes there's a shared interest in that nonprofit's mission. And sometimes there isn't. Sometimes somebody's just there because they were told they have to join a board for work. And there is so much to learn from those random groups of people coming together. And I would also say, try to join a board where you care about the work that they're doing, because otherwise you're going to spend a lot of time working towards something that frustrates you. But, I've served on a number of committees and boards locally, and I can genuinely say I have learned a ton from every single one. But the biggest thing I've learned of all is how to collaborate. And no matter what you do for a living, no matter what your plans are for yourself, learning to work together under different dynamics is huge.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. I think there's so much to take away from it. And it's really reaffirming to see someone who has so many different passions and so many different perspectives be willing to share that knowledge, but also advocate for giving back and building the community. So thank you so much for chatting. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for chatting with me. I can't wait to see the rest of the interviews in this series.